right, today we're going to make this balaclava from Burda style. It is 57.59 is the pattern. I'll link all the information below. And I use this super soft, super stretchy, fleecy fabric with a cotton backing from Mood. And I made it in oatmeal, yeah, off-white, and then a gray. These make great gifts, and if you have skiers in your family or just if you're going out to shovel snow, they are absolutely fabulous. I take my glasses off to put it on. So these are super warm. You don't have a scarf like flailing around. If you want to tighten it up, so say if you're skiing, right, then you just want to tighten up these toggles. So we put some toggles on them, and that will keep the wind out. I don't know where you are, but in the Northeast, it can get super cold. So you can bring it all the way up and cinch it in. It's absolutely perfect, right? And you can put your ski helmet over it if you're skiing, or if you're out snow shoveling, or snowmobiling. They're just absolutely wonderful. Or ice skating with your grandkids. Woo. But these are super warm, super cozy, and they are so fast to make up. I mean, it took, with a yard of fabric, it was like 60 wide, I could get 3 out of them. So that's pretty good. And it didn't take any time to sew up. It's a couple of seams and then the cording and the toggles. So let's get started. Super quick project. So this pattern is super quick to make and really very functional. They make really nice gifts because you can whip them up in no time at all. So the first thing, one pattern piece, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. The first thing you want to do is deal with this opening where the cording goes through. So if you're going to just kind of slice it open, then, or maybe even outline it with a zigzag stitch or something, you're gonna wanna put some interfacing on the back of it to give it some stability. I put buttonholes on mine. Now, this fabric that I'm using is lovely, and it's got this nice fur fuzzy side on the I'm putting that on the outside, and then this really nice cotton knit on the inside. Since I'm putting it that way, this is getting stuck in the machine as it's processing through. So what I did to do my buttonholes is I laid down a piece of paper before I stitched the button, and then you just rip this off. And there's a little bit of yellow in there that will actually fall out as time goes by. I'm okay with that because now I have this really nice buttonhole on my machine, on my piece. And then to open it up, I just carefully, slice through there. And I can take a brush and get that paper out of there. I'm really not that worried about it. It's a hoodie. So the next step is to, one of the things I wanted to mention. So when you sew the first buttonhole, and I batch made these. I made a whole bunch because I made them for gifts. So I sewed my first button here, and I'm making these in pairs, you know, because stuff moves around in your machine and you have angles that are different. You want to make sure that your buttonholes are perfectly aligned. So in order to do that, after I sewed this first buttonhole, I took my pattern piece that didn't have the buttonhole in it and lined it up and put a pin here at the bottom of the buttonhole, and then put a pin, made sure this was all lined up, at the top of the buttonhole. That way, when I put it in my machine, I had the right angle, and I started and stopped in the right place, so they're symmetrical. I mean, that's really important. For me, that would bother me. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna line them up and sew the front and back together. So right sides together, and we're gonna pin all along this long side on the hoodie part and stitch this. And I used my overlocker, but if you don't have an overlocker or a serger, you can finish it with some pinking shears or a zig. I mean, you don't even have to finish it. If you cut it nice and neat, this fabric is not going to ravel, that's for sure. But you definitely want to pin it, because it's fuzzy and it's knit and it's gonna slip around a little bit. So that might cause you some angst if it moves. So yeah, so we're gonna sew up this front seam and sew up this all the way around the hood. And I have this one is finished here. It's stitched and it's overlocked. I mean, this is like, it's almost done, right? So the next thing we're gonna do is make the casing. And we're gonna fold this over based on this measurement that's on the tissue here in front. All right, so we're gonna make our casing for the front. And this is, looks like 3/4 of an inch. I took a little bit off with my serger. So I'm gonna turn this over a 1/2 inch and stitch it to make my casing. And certainly you need to make sure that whatever casing you have is going to fit through this. You can make it a little bigger if need be. And also I tend to stitch it from this side because that way I can make sure that I'm right on the edge and it's the same width all the way around. So we're gonna do that. And then we are also going to fold up the bottom, and the bottom is 1.25 inches. So we're gonna fold this bottom up 1.25 inches, or 1.25 inches or less, whatever you've serged off, and do a twin needle stitch on that. And I've done a video on how to do a twin needle stitch, so I will upload that for you. It'll be in the comments down below. The only thing about this is you have to change your foot a lot. So I had to put a buttonhole foot on, then I stitched it, then I'm gonna stitch this. Now I need a twin needle for this, but this is not that wide because you wanna keep the cold air out. That's the whole purpose of it. So it needs to stretch. And you can get away with the side seams not being a knit seam, but you really can't get away with this bottom one not being a knit seam because this has to go over your head. And that's exactly what a twin needle stitch is. It's a knit seam. So there's 2 rows of stitching from the top, and then the bobbin goes back and forth between the 2 rows of stitching, and that creates a stretchy zigzag that's going on. So yeah, we're gonna do that, and then we'll look at the cording and the little toggles that go on. Look at that, it's done. This is so fast. We're gonna talk about putting the toggles in really quick, but I wanted to show you the twin needle stitch. Look at how nice that is, right? It's stretchy, so that goes over your head. The other thing you wanna think about when you're threading this is to go in the direction. So I serged my seams and pushed them to one direction. So if you did that, you wanna go in the direction, go from the side that doesn't have the seam, so you don't get hung up in them. If you open them up and split them, then you might have to do it a couple of times. So I have this cording from Mood, and I'm just taking a safety pin. Let's see, I have so many of them here. Find the one that doesn't have the cord in. I'm gonna figure out which way my seam is going. And I'm gonna go through the buttonhole. Make sure that you open up these buttonholes before you stitch this channel seam down. All right, and I actually just leave it attached until I get it all the way, get the cording all the way around through the hood. And once you do that, you want to put enough cording in so the hood's gonna lay flat. And then we have these are Duritz toggle buttons. I got them from Mood. You can get them pretty much anywhere. And this just really adds to the look. Now, you need some strength to squeeze those, and you have to squeeze them and thread the cording through. So they have to be completely open. If you get stuck, the tweezers from your serger work really well. If you get it stuck like it's not all the way through, you can grab them and pull it through. So I kind of cinched this up far, then tie a little knot in the end. All right, just a little overhand knot. Push that down, and then I'm going to do the same to the other side. And don't like too much cording dangling, but I want to make sure that this opens up so I can actually fold it nice and flat. So there's enough that this is flat, and then, you know, we're done. They look fabulous. Until next time, happy sewing.